have any questions, we'll have some time built in for that. We'll make sure we get to all of your questions, and then anything that we need to add to our FAQs on the website, we will do that. And then if you do have any specific scenarios or multiple part questions, or need to kind of dig into anything a little bit further, we have a email that is set up for that will come directly to us, and we do respond to those immediately. I'll share that link with you, but that is paymentquestions@fssa.in.gov. And Tony can drop that in the chat as well. But that will come directly to us if you need some more one-on-one specifics there. So in today's webinar, we will cover a pay by enrollment overview, how to prepare, a walkthrough of the new provider portal and some key tasks, some auditing considerations, the new family portal overview and some FAQs, next steps, and the transition timeline. That'll be great for you. And then also some additional resources and supports. So as many of you have already heard, Indiana will be making a shift from attendance-based to enrollment-based payments for childcare vouchers starting on July 15th. So rather than having families swipe their cards and then providers having to maintain equipment, track swipes and hours, and then monitor missing or late payments, providers will instead be responsible for tracking attendance internally and recording child absences every 2 weeks in our new portal, which should save providers a lot of time. This change will reduce daily burdens for families and providers, strengthen payment practices for providers, and ultimately make it easier for providers and families to successfully participate in the voucher program. So let's celebrate for a moment what that means for providers. That means no more POS machines, no need for a landline phone system, no swipe cards, no personal days to track, no missed swipes or counting hours anymore, no worrying about whether you're going to get a full or a half payment, and then no action required by the family for providers to get paid. So that is excellent news. OECOSL does want to stress to families the priority that we are placing on children's early learning and development, while also increasing our attendance expectations. So providers should really be stressing to families the importance of regular attendance. Children should be expected to attend their program full time unless they're out for illnesses, vacations, or emergencies. So providers are holding that full-time spot for a child, and that should be communicated to families. Benefits to children and families are that children's learning and development grows through consistency. Children's social and emotional growth is enhanced, and children are more prepared for school. The benefits to programs are that programs are better able to prepare lesson plans and get the supplies they need. They're able to better plan menus for the week, and then they can ensure they're properly staffed for each day. So we all know that consistent attendance is very important. Absences will be tracked against an excessive absence policy that states if a child reaches 45 absences within an enrollment year, then across all providers that they're attending, their vouchers will be terminated. So families will have to wait 90 days to reapply for that child if they were terminated due to excessive absences. Letters will be issued to families and providers after children miss 10, 20, 30, and 40 days, and then info will be available to you in the portals as well. And then the state will be offering some outreach to help those families who have children that are missing a lot of days. So we really just want to put that emphasis on that consistent attendance. So we'll start with what should providers be doing right now to prepare for pay by enrollment. The first thing is to address late attendance in the EPPIC system. So providers should be working with families to complete and approve any late attendance entries. On July 25th, any attendance that has been entered will be auto-approved, and families should continue to approve that late attendance before July 25th for more timely payment. So if you're putting it in now, don't wait for the auto approval on July 25th. Encourage your families to go ahead and get that attendance submitted so that we can get those payments to you before that final payment. Any attendance not recorded by July 25th will not be paid, so we want to make sure everything is cleaned up in the old system. And then the final payment from Conduent will be made on July 31st. The second thing that you should be doing right now to prepare is to log into the provider portal and confirm your child rosters are up to date, and then notify the eligibility office to remove any children that are on your roster that are not attending. So that's very important. We want to make sure only your current roster gets transferred into the new system. We also want to make sure that you are logging into iLead and updating your program contacts so that you are getting all of the updated information that's being sent out by the state. I've heard from a lot of providers that they're not receiving the updates that OECOSL is sending out, and this may be because your email is not up to date. So please just check that and make sure that you make any updates. And then if you want to learn more about the pay by enrollment changes, access helpful resources and frequently asked questions, and then review the provider readiness checklist that we've prepared, you can visit the new pay by enrollment website, which is listed here at the bottom of the page. The third thing that you can do, and this is optional, is OECOSL is offering a child care management system program, or CCMS, if you've heard that, in partnership with Spark Learning Lab. And that is aimed at giving programs the tools to build financial management systems and allow for reduction of administrative paperwork due to some automation and adoption of technology. Some of the benefits of a CCMS are improved billing practices, increased communication with families, and streamlined document and information management of records like your attendance, menus, and incident reports. Eligible providers must be regulated by OECOSL, so they have to be licensed, registered, or legally licensed exempt providers with the state. They have to be in good standing, and they have to be actively serving children. Providers can choose between our 3 preferred CCMS vendors. That is Alliance Core, powered by Early Learning Ventures, Brightwheel, or Playground. Providers are not required to have a CCMS or to switch their current CCMS if they're using one that is not one of the 3 state preferred. This is just an opportunity that is being offered to providers that would provide a free service and the ability to automate a lot of the manual processes that providers are currently doing. This service is free for the first 2 years. And then if you like it and choose to continue, it would continue at another 2 years at the state discounted price. Or at that time, you would have the option of canceling as well. If you are currently using one of the state preferred vendors that I mentioned, but you are on a paid subscription, so you are paying for that yourself, then you are eligible to take advantage of this free subscription as well. You just need to complete the application in iLead to be switched over to the free subscription. Currently, we've already had over 1,100 providers that have signed up for a CCMS, and we're getting a lot of great feedback from those providers on how the CCMS is really going to benefit their program. So if you are interested in checking out any of the vendors or signing up for a CCMS, the deadline is quickly approaching. It is July 15th, which is only 19 days from now. So don't miss out on the opportunity if you're kind of on the fence. The link is here in the green box. If you're interested in learning more, please check those out. And then the other thing that using one of the CCMS systems would allow you to do is to connect that CCMS system with the state so that you only have to enter your attendance once. So the systems use what we call a data bridge or an API that allows childcare providers to connect those CCMSs to the state system to easily transmit attendance data for their voucher children. So only the attendance data gets transmitted. Anything else you're doing in the CCMS is not transmitted. But it would give you that option to no longer have to duplicate attendance entries into the new portal as well. Sending attendance through your CCMS is optional, but that is one of the things that you can choose in the system if you'd like to submit your attendance that way. At this time, the state does not have a data bridge with any of the other CCMS vendors. So if it's not one of these three, we do not have that data bridge, and we have no immediate plans to add anyone else on. So if you are using a provider that is on another CCMS, then you are not required to change vendors, but you will still need to enter your attendance in the provider portal and submit that every 2 weeks as well. So now on to the new provider portal and how to complete some of the key tasks. Today, we will be showing you a live demo that will include how to log on through iLead. And just note, when we are doing that demo, these options are not available in iLead right now. So if you log on, you're not going to see them. They will be added on July 15th. You'll see the portal home screen and navigation, how to complete some key tasks, viewing vouchers and past absence data for the children on your rosters, entering and managing child absences or off days, logging paid and non-paid closures, and then this portal is also how providers will connect with our new payment vendor. And if any of you were on the last webinar, we did refer to that new payment vendor as Rapid Financial Solutions, or RFS. Just note that going forward, they are going to be called Tyler Technologies. It is the same company. They're just going to use a different name. Tyler is their parent company, and they wanted to use that going forward. So didn't want to confuse anyone when you see that, because you might see both of those for a little bit. Before we get on to the demo, we're going to briefly discuss the attendance codes that you'll be seeing in the portal. So providers will be paid full-time for all children enrolled in their program until a child accumulates 45 absences in an enrollment year. If a child attends any part of the day, they should be marked present, or P. There is no minimum number of days or hours required at this time, but the importance of regular attendance should be stressed and encouraged with parents. There are 3 attendance codes for children. So again, P is present. That is the default setting for Monday through Friday. This is used when a child attended any amount of time during a given day. And if any child is not present, then providers would need to update that to reflect absent or an off day. So because that defaults automatically to P for present, you just need to correct it to whatever the correct code is. Absent should be used when a child is regularly scheduled to attend, but they were not in attendance at all that given day. So that could be planned, pre-planned, like vacation, or not. So it could be a sick day or an emergency. Children are allowed up to 45 of those absence days across all their providers that they attend per enrollment year. Providers will still be paid for children's absences until a child reaches their 45th day. Off day is a little bit different. So off days should be used if the provider does not operate, like on a weekend. If you don't normally operate on Saturday or Sunday, those will be marked as off days. That is the default that comes up in the system automatically. Or if the child is not regularly scheduled to attend that day. So for example, if a child only attends Monday through Thursday, then Friday would be marked as their off day. It would not be marked as an absent because you were not expecting that child to be there, because they only come Monday through Thursday. But if that same child was scheduled to attend Monday through Thursday and then was sick 2 of those days, Friday would still be marked as their off day, but then you would also have 2 absences for that child this week. So the off days can vary from week to week. They do not have to be the same. Providers will mark those off days when they're submitting attendance. Off days are paid and they do not count against the child's excessive absence total. So for a child that normally attends Monday through Friday all the time, they will not have off days. They will have absences. But for a child who is not scheduled to attend 5 days a week, they may have off days and absences depending on their circumstances. And then in addition to the child attendance codes, there are also 2 types of provider closures in the new portal. So PC stands for paid closure. That is, providers get 11 paid closures per calendar year. They can be used for providers' vacations, sick days, inclement weather days, emergency closures, staff in service, or their holidays. If providers are closed for an entire week, they're not operating at all that week, they do need to enter 5 paid closures for that week. Now, with non-paid closures, which you see there as NP, providers would use those for any day that the program would normally be open, but there are no children in attendance and there's already attendance recorded for that week. So, for example, if you are closed on Martin Luther King Day, but operating the rest of the week, then this could be marked as a non-paid closure because you have attendance and are operating for the rest of the week. You will still get paid for that full week. So that just means that that day does not count towards one of your 11 paid closures. So providers will not be paid for a week when all non-paid closures are entered. So the provider did not operate any part of that week. There were no children in attendance and they did not want to use their paid closures. So they marked all 5 days as non-paid closures. Then that week would not be paid. Providers will start in the new system with the 11 paid closure days for this calendar year, regardless of what they have already used for 2024. So every provider will start with 11 paid closures. If you've already recorded absences in the system after July 15th, though, in the old system, those will need to be re-entered in the new portal. They will not be transferred over. And then the count will reset to 11 paid closures each January 1st after that. Unused days do not roll over. So each January 1st, you will get those 11 days to use during that calendar year. Okay, I am going to stop sharing for a minute and we are going to switch over to the live demo. Okay, so programs will have access to a new provider portal. The new provider portal will be accessed using iLead. Once a provider or program administrator has logged into iLead, they will click on the button labeled Attendance and Voucher Info. This will take them to the homepage of the new provider portal. Again, this is not available right now. This will not be added till July 15th. So if you log into iLead today, you will not see that. But after July 15th, you will. All program administrators with access to iLead will also have access to the provider portal, or you may see that referred to as PPP, that's Parent Provider Portal, to enter the attendance and closures. But only one admin will be able to have access to the payment vendor to register or update the banking information. So just a side note there. So once you get to the new portal, from here, providers have 4 tiles they can choose from. They have absences, closure days, rapid financial systems, and the data entry setup. Again, please note that there is that ongoing name change from references of RFS or Rapid Financial Systems to Tyler Technologies. So as we're making those updates, you may see references to both in the portal until everything related to payments is just referred to as Tyler Technologies. One of the most critical action items that providers can complete in the new system is to register with the new payment vendor and input their banking information. Please note banking information will not be transferred from the old conduit system into the new system. So you will need to log in and enter your banking information in the new system by August 5th. So the first thing we're going to do is click on the Rapid Financial Solutions tile. This screen contains all the critical information needed to register with Tyler Technologies, or RFS. For providers with multiple sites, they can use the drop-down arrow to toggle between the different sites. You will want to note your license number in the drop-down menu, the facility name, and then the user provider key from this screen. So for ease of registration, we do recommend that you copy that user provider key to be able to paste it onto the next screen. Once you have the information needed, you'll click on the tile labeled RFS registration. Please note you do only have to register one time. Once the registration is complete, you won't be able to or need to click that tile again. You'll enter all of your information, accept the terms and conditions, and then click Next. And the next screen is where you'll be able to enter your banking information, set your email address per site, and then set your password to be able to access the payment portal again later. For today's demo, we're just showing some screenshots here because there's not an actual provider to register. The process should be very easy to complete. And then once you're done, you will receive a confirmation screen as well as an email. Later, when you want to view your payment information and a breakdown of your vouchers and adjustments included with each payment, you will use the RFS login tile to access that information. And just note that you will need to use the email and password you set up during the registration process a few moments ago. Once you've logged in, you can click on Account Details to see the list of your payments. To see the transaction details, including a list of vouchers and adjustments, including the payment, you can click here on the transaction ID. And then a report will be included at the bottom of the screen showing all of the details. There's nothing listed here because there's not a payment under this provider. Now we're going to return to the provider portal. And from the payment vendor page, we're going to click on Home to get back to those tiles. Next, we'll look at the data entry setup tile. So all programs will automatically be set up to enter absences in this provider portal by default. So we do ask that the first period that you're submitting be done through the portal, but then starting with the second service period, you may choose to use your preferred CCMS to send attendance if you choose. Again, that is not required, but it would save you from having to duplicate your attendance entries. Any change in the selection for data entry must be done for a future date, and it must be the start of a service period. You can't change in the middle of a service period or for a past attendance service period. So here you can use the drop-down menu to select a site if you have more than one. Under entry, the application PPP stands for this portal. And then the 3 CCMS vendors available to use for the data bridge are also listed there in the dropdown. So you can select your CCMS vendor and then select a date to start from the next dropdown. And then you'll hit Save to save your entry. If you make a mistake, you can just select the value again and change it to a different vendor, or you can change your submission back to PPP. Note that once you select a CCMS vendor for your attendance submissions, the attendance screen and the roster on the absences page will become read-only starting with the service period that you've selected. Now we're going to return to the home page. And next, we're going to explore the closure days tile. This is where programs can enter their paid or non-paid closures. You will need to enter these for each site if you manage more than one. So you'll use the drop-down field next to the provider to choose the site that you're entering for. Next, you'll select the date of the closure you wish to enter. You can only enter dates in the past if the service period has not been submitted. But you can enter future dates for the full calendar year as well as the first quarter of the following year. So right now, you would be able to enter all of your closure dates for 2024 and then through the end of 2025. And then starting in January 1st of 2025, you would be able to do the full 15 months through March of 2026. So next, we're going to select a type of closure between paid or non-paid and click Add. And then any default values that were already entered on the attendance roster would be updated to a closure. So you'll receive a pop-up warning advising you of this. So be sure that is what you meant to change before you select OK here. Again, providers do receive 11 paid closure days for any closure reason. Weeks that you are not operating and only paid closures are recorded will still be paid in full. So if you are closed for the whole week, you will need to record 5 paid closures there. If a holiday falls within a week that you are operating, you can mark that as an unpaid closure. You will still be paid for that full week. You can also delete any closures you've entered as long as the service period containing that date has not been submitted. So to delete an entry, you can select the delete button next to that line. And then you'll be given the option to restore all of the previous values for that date that were in your attendance roster. So you can select yes, and now that closure will be removed. So now let's return to the home page of the provider portal and get to the area that you'll use most often. So now we're going to select the absences tile. This page is going to load with either the last service period you were viewing or the first service period that has not yet been submitted. As with all of the other screens, you can choose the site you wish to work on from the drop-down menu. If a service period is due or past due, you will see a red informational message at the top of your screen. Next to the service period, you'll select the service period you wish to work on or view from the drop-down menu. Note that service periods are 2 weeks long, and they always begin on a Sunday and end on a Saturday. There also is a status bar here, and you can note the date and time, last updated, submission date, and the time. These are key fields to alert you to the status of the service period that you've selected. Down the left side of the screen, the children with vouchers for the selected program should appear, and they are sorted by age group. So you can see in this example, there are 3 children listed under the 3, 4, 5s, and then all the others under school age. If you entered any provider closures for the period, they will appear on this screen automatically for all children, and you will not be able to change or delete those closures from this screen. So if you need to make any changes to your closures, you do have to go back to that closures screen to make any of those changes. This grid automatically populates with the default values. Monday through Friday will be populated as P for present, and Saturdays and Sundays will populate as OD for off day. To change the entries for any given child on any given day, you'll simply click in the cell to change the value. Each time you click it, it will change from P to AB to OD. And if you made a mistake, it will click back to P at the end to get you back to the beginning there. So as Tony's showing you, it is very simple and quick to change anything that is not one of the default values. And you just need to do that for that 2-week period for each child before submitting your attendance. If you see any weeks that are gray for the entire week, this means that a child's vouchers have either not started or that they ended in the previous week. So it is possible for vouchers to start or end in the middle of a service period, but never in the middle of a week. So if you see it all grayed out, like in the example, that just means there's not a voucher for that week. So once you're done with your entries, you just want to make sure that you are always hitting save. Then at the bottom of the screen, you can always see a link that has a key to understanding the different attendance symbols in the grid if you forget what those are. It's a little helpful table. The submit button will only appear here if the service period that needs to be submitted and you have to wait until the service period ends. So, for example, if the service period goes through that Saturday, you can't submit it on a Thursday. So you can't pre-fill days. You have to wait until that service period has ended. You have 2 weeks after the service period to submit that attendance. But once it is submitted, it will be locked and you will no longer be able to make changes to that period. So it's very important that you're checking everything for accuracy before submitting. If you miss a submission date, you will be paid for one service period automatically, but you will still be required to submit the correct information for that service period before you can submit the next one. So service periods must be submitted in order. If you miss a submission period, you will also receive automated messages each day until it is submitted. So you will know if you have missed it. You will not be paid if you miss 2 submission dates in a row. So if it's been 4 weeks and you haven't submitted anything, then we will stop payments until you have submitted all of your missing attendance. You can also use the print function to export the attendance data to either a PDF or Excel format. The absence screen is also where you can view information about your vouchers. Oh, sorry. I got ahead of Tony. Here is the PDF or Excel format of that attendance data. I got a little fast. So the absence screen is also where you can view information about the vouchers that are assigned to your program, and you can do that in one of 2 ways. You can click the hyperlink on any child's name to see vouchers for that child specifically. So if you click on that child's name, you'll see more information about that child, followed by all of their voucher details. And then for the vouchers listed, you can sort by any of the column headers as well. You do notice they have their expired vouchers, so future, past, and their current vouchers. So gives you a nice snapshot there. The second way you can view voucher information is by going back to the My Vouchers button from the top of the page. This screen will bring up all the vouchers for the program. You can use the drop-down list next to voucher type to change the filter of what's being displayed on the page if you want to see something specific. But for today's demo, we are going to select all vouchers. Similar to the last page where we viewed voucher information for a specific child, you can click any of the column headers here to sort the information. And then finally, at the bottom of the page, you can select how many records you'd like to see at a time, and then use the arrow keys to navigate between your pages. You can also use the print button to choose a PDF or Excel file of your voucher information. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that all of the pages that we've shown today also work on most mobile phones or tablets that have an up-to-date default browser for that device. So the pages should all be mobile friendly. All right, and that's going to end our demo. So we are going to shift back to our slides here. Let me share again. Okay. So a couple of important notes here about vouchers. Vouchers should only be assigned when there's an opening at the program and the child is scheduled to attend. So you should not be issuing provider pages and having vouchers assigned if you don't have an opening for several months. So we need to delay the voucher start date if you don't have that opening. If a child will be out for an extended period of more than 2 weeks, for example, some children go to stay with another parent or a grandparent during the summer, those vouchers will need to be modified to show a gap in service so that no payment is made and then no absences need to be recorded. Vouchers should never be assigned just in case a parent may need to use it sometime. So they should never be there just for a drop-in child that only attends every once in a while. If a child no longer attends a program or enrolls but never shows, then a provider must contact the eligibility office to update the roster within 5 business days. We want to avoid an overpayment for that child because if a provider continues to be paid for a child that is no longer enrolled, that may result in a repayment to the state for those funds. Providers are still required to keep their backup method of attendance. So this is required for both licensing and audit. That could be a CCMS or another electronic system, or it could also be a paper system. Providers are required to keep those records for 3 years. Your backup method should include the child's full name, the date and time in and out. And if you're using a paper method, we do recommend that the parent either initial or sign to verify that information. As this is a new process for everyone, we will have auditors that are monitoring all attendance submissions through the new provider portal to look for any discrepancies. So these could include things like providers who do not report any children absent ever for months at a time. We do expect that some children may never miss, but there will be children that will be absent for some reason. So we'll just look for those. Could also include things like a provider who's being paid for a child who has not attended for several months, a provider who's closed for many weeks during the year, taking advantage of this new system and this new process. So for any of those, auditors may want to look a little closer at your backup method. Now we're going to really briefly look at some screenshots from the family portal just so you can see what your families are going to be able to see. So because families will no longer be required to take any action on daily attendance, they will have a read-only portal. It is still important for them to register to see their absence counts and their reauthorization dates. However, if a parent does not register, this will not affect the provider payments. We just encourage it so that they can track their absences and keep up with their reauthorization dates. When families log into their portal, they will have 3 tiles available to them on the homepage. So they will have link your voucher cases, view your voucher information, and view your child care absences. The first step a family will need to do is to link their case to their account. So each family will be provided a parent key that is unique to them to ensure that we're securely displaying only the information they should be seeing. This key will be provided to existing families in a letter that they will get in the mail the week of July 15th. So please encourage your families to watch for that letter and not to throw it away so that they will have that key. New families that start after July 15th will receive their parent key printed at the end of their voucher report, so they won't get a letter in the mail. To link the case, the applicant does need their case number, applicant last name, applicant date of birth, and their parent key. And then they only need to do this one time, not every time they come to the portal. and only the applicant will have access to the case information that is in the portal. So if they go to their voucher page, they can see past, present, and future vouchers for all children on their case. This also displays their overage and their copay amounts, as well as the status of each of their vouchers. So important information to be able to share with parents there. They also have a tile that shows all of the individual absences that a provider has entered, listed by child, and then a running total at the top for each of the children. So it has each child listed and how many absences they've had. Once that child reaches 30 absences for the enrollment year, there will be a warning message that's displayed next to that child showing they're nearing that 45th absence. It also has their anniversary date. The anniversary date is when the absence count will reset for each child. So each child will start in this new system on July 15th with 45 absences. So regardless of what they've already used this year, it will reset and they will get 45 days. And then it will reset on their anniversary date each year. The unused days do not roll over, so it starts again at 45 days on that anniversary date. Ooh, sorry. So lots of changes are coming, but I still wanted to highlight what will stay the same for families because there was some confusion about what's staying the same. So the application process is going to stay the same. They will still apply online at Early Ed Connect, or they can request a paper application if they're having trouble with the website. The open enrollment process for new families is going to be the same. Provider changes will be the same. So they still have to submit a new provider information page before noon on Thursday for it to be effective the following week, or they can submit it and indicate a future date. Case updates do not change, so they still need to report ASAP anytime they have a change in address, phone number, their service needs, so whether they're working or in school, or any household changes. They got married, they had a baby, somebody moved out of the house. All of those things need to be reported to their eligibility office right away so that those cases can be updated. And then the reauthorization process will stay the same. So they will still get a reauthorization packet 30 days prior to their subsidy end date, and they will be able to reauthorize exactly as they do today. Couple of FAQs that have come up. If a child has an approved medical reason for being absent, does it still count towards the excessive absence policy? The answer there is if a family provides documentation of a serious medical condition or hospitalization for their child, they can be approved for additional absence days. So we do conduct that on a case-by-case basis. The family needs to contact their eligibility office and supply documentation, and then we can work on getting that adjusted for them. And then another question that's come up quite frequently is, will the provider rates change as a result of pay by enrollment? And right now, no, the reimbursement rates will stay the same. Reimbursement rates are based on a provider survey that's conducted every few years by OECOSL. That is still open and ongoing at this time. So OECOSL asks for input from all provider types to make sure that the rates that we're setting align with the true cost of providing care. This data this year will also be used to support a compensation study that's being conducted by ELAC that's looking at wages paid to the childcare workforce in Indiana. So if you are a provider that has not completed your survey or not started your survey, please do so as soon as possible. Those will be closing soon. The link to the survey is listed here. We want to make sure that we get your information in your data in as well. So what to expect at launch is the new system will go live on July 15th. At that time, providers and program administrators will be required to access the new portal by logging in through iLead and selecting the attendance and voucher info. Registering with Tyler Technologies and entering the banking information is a super important step to ensure that you don't have any interruptions in your payments. And then you will no longer have to complete a packet or send a voided check to be able to update your banking. You can update your banking anytime, but it must be done by Monday at midnight of the payment week for it to be effective in that payment. So you will have several weeks to complete this step when we first get into the new system before your first period is due. So no one is required to go in on July 15th and get this done. If you want to, that's great, but you actually have until August the 5th to register. So you have several weeks. The first attendance needs to be submitted between July 28th and August 10th. So you got some time. You will receive a reminder email if you haven't registered your bank account a few days before that first submission. So we want to make sure that we're giving you that little nudge that you haven't done that yet. And then remember, you do need to submit any of that remaining late attendance or missed swipes into EPPIC before July 25th so that you don't miss out on any payments for previously provided services. So some next steps, again, this is the new Pay by Enrollment website where you can learn more about the changes, access helpful resources and frequently asked questions, review the provider checklist to start preparing for the change, and then making sure you're getting all of those late attendance entries in. I have heard from quite a few providers over the last couple of weeks that have gotten this checklist that are finding it really handy. So definitely get in there and print it or download it so that you can use that to be ready. And then the other thing is if you are not getting OECOSL's Monday Must Know newsletter to stay updated on everything that's happening, I highly recommend that you use the link and get signed up for that. That comes out once a month. It's just kind of got little recaps of some of the programs that are going on. It's great information to make sure that you know everything that's going on with our office. And then here is your transition timeline. So super important dates to know is that as of June 14th, Conduent actually stopped issuing new and replacement POS machines. So those are not being issued anymore. If there is a new provider that has come on, they will be able to enter all of their attendance on the portal. As of June 28th, which is this Friday, that is going to be the last day for new and replacement swipe cards to be issued to families. July 13th is the last day for attendance to be entered on the POS machine or families to use their swipe cards. After July 13th, whenever all of your attendance has been entered and you no longer need your POS machine, you can return or recycle that. A list of all of the recycling centers in each county across the state is available on our Pay by Enrollment website. So you can look there and find a recycling center. Don't just toss them. If you prefer, you can also call Conduent and request a box and return label. So that is an option for you as well. July 15th is when Pay by Enrollment begins. Then between July 15th and August 5th, providers can register for the new portal. On July 25th, again, that's when all late attendance must be entered into EPPIC, and the auto approval will run for the final payment. From July 28th to August 10th, that is when the first attendance is due. So that first period that you will be recording attendance in the new portal will be for July 14th to 27th, and then you will have 2 weeks to get that submitted for payment. Then July 31st will be the last payment from Conduent. And on August 15th will be the first payment from Tyler Technologies. There will be a schedule posted of all those. The payment weeks stay the same. The only difference is it is being shifted from a Wednesday pay date to a Thursday pay date, but there will be no interruption in services as long as you're registered with your banking information. It will still continue every 2 weeks on the same cycle. OECOSL will be hosting some additional webinars the week of July 15th when the new system goes live. I want to make sure that you are able to get registered for that system and that you get all of the information that you need to be able to navigate it. So look for those dates. And then there will also be some live office hours those first 2 weeks of submission of attendance. So the week of July 29th and the week of August 5th, you can pop in live, ask any questions that you have so that you are ready to be successful in that new system. And of course, you can always reach out to the Spark Help Desk at any time with your questions, and they are available to provide additional support. And then speaking of support, you have an entire support team available to you if you have any questions. So we made this handy page with all of the QR codes to make it easy to find the help that you need. So any general questions can be directed to Spark, either online or by phone. Any help with late attendance or missing payments should be directed to your policy consultant. And then to clean up your roster, remove any non-attending children, you'll contact your eligibility office. So each of those has a QR code, so you know exactly where to go. And then there are also links here to the Pay by Enrollment webpage and the webinars that are upcoming. So you are welcome to check out any of those. And then we have come to the end of the presentation. So we will continue to monitor the Q&A. If you have any additional questions, please drop those in. We'll stay for a few more minutes and make sure that we get all those answered. If you do not have any further questions, thank you for your time and participation. We hope that you are just as excited to make the shift to pay by enrollment in a few short weeks as we are. Thank you all for being here with me this evening.
Thank you again, Shannon. As she mentioned, we will stay on and make sure that any questions and answers that are outstanding do get answered. If you missed anything at any point in time, again, we will have these recordings up on the website as soon as possible. And they will be available through a YouTube clip. Additionally, if you have any questions that you would like to go over, we can go ahead and answer those as well, either through the Q&A or by emailing the payment questions at fssa.in.gov. And Shannon, we did have a request to go back to the QR codes, if you don't mind. Perfect, thank you. So again, if you need anything, we are here to help. So we do have a couple more questions here in the Q&A. Once we have those, we will let you know before we close out.